Imagine a quiet forest, far away from busy roads, far away from bright city lights, a forest where the nights felt soft and silver, and where tiny sleepy lights floated slowly between the trees. Deep beneath the roots of the oldest tree in the forest, there lived a little fox. His fur was warm like autumn leaves, and his tail was soft like a blanket beside a fire. Most animals believed the little fox slept peacefully through the night, just like everyone else. But that was not true, because while the forest slept, the little fox listened. He listened for something very special, the sound of a broken dream. Sometimes dreams became tangled. Sometimes they drifted too far away. And sometimes, very quietly, they cracked. Not with thunder, not with loud noises, only with the tiniest little sound, like frost touching glass or a snowflake falling onto still water. Whenever a dream cracked, the little fox could hear it, and whenever he heard it, he knew someone in the forest needed help. Tonight, the forest was calm beneath the moonlight. The wind moved gently through the tall grass. Silver clouds floated slowly across the sky, and somewhere far away, a sleepy cricket sang softly in the dark. Everything felt peaceful, warm, still, until, very softly, the little fox heard it. Peek! His ears twitched beneath the blanket. For a moment, he stayed curled inside his warm little bed, listening carefully. The sound came again. Tiny, fragile, almost like fading light. Slowly, the fox opened his eyes. "Oh," he whispered softly. "A dream has cracked tonight." He sat up carefully. Beside his bed stood a tiny lantern made from amber glass. The little fox touched it gently, and warm golden light filled the room. His home beneath the roots was small and cozy. There were shelves carved into the wood, tiny jars lined neatly beside one another, bundles of glowing thread, folded moon patches, little bottles filled with warm stardust, and soft feathers gathered beneath the night sky. Near the door stood an old wooden chest. The little fox opened it slowly. Inside were all the things he needed to repair dreams. Moon patches, golden thread, silver needles, soft cloud wool, tiny jars of sleeping dust. The fox packed everything carefully into his satchel. One moon patch, a spool of golden thread, a silver needle no bigger than a pine needle, and a tiny round jar of warm, glowing stardust. Each object shimmered softly inside the bag. The little fox wrapped a scarf around his neck, picked up his lantern, and quietly stepped outside into the sleeping forest. Cool night air brushed gently through his fur. The grass shimmered beneath the moonlight. Tiny floating lights drifted lazily between the trees like sleepy fireflies. The fox followed the narrow forest path, listening carefully. The cracked dream did not feel far away tonight. As he walked, the lantern light danced softly across roots and stones. The forest was full of peaceful, sleeping sounds. A family of mice slept beneath wild flowers, tiny noses tucked beneath tiny paws. A hedgehog snored softly beneath a fern, and high above, leaves rustled quietly in the cool night wind. The little fox smiled as he walked. He loved the forest most at night. Everything felt slower then, gentler, as if the whole world had wrapped itself inside a warm blanket. The fox crossed a tiny wooden bridge above the stream. Below him, the water reflected the stars. For a moment, it looked as though the night sky itself had fallen into the river. The fox paused quietly, watching silver ripples drift slowly across the water. Then, very softly, he heard the sound again. Pick. Closer now. The fox lifted his lantern slightly and continued deeper into the forest. Soon, he reached a clearing beneath the tallest pine tree in the woods, and there, perched upon an old branch, sat the owl. Her feathers shimmered silver beneath the moonlight, and her golden eyes watched the sleeping forest calmly. The owl blinked slowly as the little fox approached. "Another broken dream tonight?" she asked softly. The little fox nodded. "Just a small one," he whispered. The owl tilted her head toward the northern hills. "I heard restless sleeping near the rabbit burrows," she murmured. The little fox looked toward the distant hills, then smiled gently. "Thank you," he said softly. The owl fluffed her feathers against the cool night air. "The forest always rests easier when dreams are whole again," she whispered. The fox gave a tiny nod, then continued along the moonlit path. The deeper he walked, the quieter the forest became. Mist floated gently above the stream. The reeds swayed softly beside the water, and somewhere far away, frogs croaked sleepily beside a pond. The fox walked slowly, never in a hurry, because dreams could feel fear, and the fox never wanted frightened dreams, only peaceful ones. As he walked, he noticed tiny glowing mushrooms beside the path, silver moss covering old stones, and sleepy flowers folding their petals beneath the moon. The little fox loved these quiet nighttime things. Sometimes, when no dreams were broken, he still wandered through the forest at night, simply listening, simply watching, simply keeping the sleeping woods company. Eventually, the fox reached a small grassy hill. There, tucked beneath the roots of a round little tree, was the rabbit's burrow. Warm golden light glowed faintly through the tiny window. The little fox stepped closer, carefully, very quietly, very softly, and listened. At first, everything seemed peaceful, but then he saw it, floating gently above the sleeping rabbit. A dream. Most creatures never saw dreams, but the little fox could. Rabbit dreams were usually soft and bright, filled with floating stars, silver clouds, moonlit meadows, and glowing skies. But tonight, something inside the dream had broken. One of the stars had cracked. Its light flickered weakly, and around it, The sky inside the dream had started fading into darkness. Tiny pieces of glowing starlight drifted slowly through the air, like little floating feathers of light. The sleeping rabbit moved uneasily beneath the blanket, tiny paws twitching softly, little ears trembling now and then. The little fox sat quietly beside the dream. For a moment, he simply watched. Dreams were delicate things, and they needed kindness more than speed. The fox slowly opened his satchel. First, he removed a moon patch. It shimmered softly like warm silver snow. Very carefully, the fox placed the patch across the cracked star. The dream trembled gently. The fading sky flickered softly around them. But dreams were fragile, and moon patches alone were never enough. So next, the fox reached for his golden thread. The thread glowed softly like melted starlight. He threaded the silver needle carefully, then began stitching the edges of the dream together, one tiny stitch at a time. Slowly, patiently, soft golden lines appeared across the cracked star. The broken light stopped trembling. The faded sky became softer, warmer, more peaceful. The rabbit's breathing slowed. Its tiny paws relaxed beneath the blanket. But still, something was missing. The dream had lost part of its glow. The little fox reached deeper into his satchel and removed the smallest jar of stardust. Inside, tiny glowing lights floated slowly like sleepy fireflies. Warm golden dust swirled softly inside the glass. The fox opened the lid carefully, then blew the glowing stardust gently across the dream. Immediately, the broken star began glowing once more, warm, golden, peaceful. The silver clouds drifted softly through the sky again. Tiny stars shimmered across the dream, and little glowing lights floated peacefully through the night air. The missing pieces of starlight slowly drifted back into place, like tiny puzzle pieces made of moonlight. The rabbit smiled quietly in his sleep. The little fox watched carefully, just to make sure everything felt peaceful again. Then he leaned closer and whispered softly, "Sweet dreams, little one." Outside, the forest wind moved gently through the trees. The owl watched quietly from her branch, and far above the woods, the stars shimmered peacefully across the night sky. The little fox packed his tools slowly back into the satchel. The golden thread, the moon patches, the silver needle, the tiny jars of glowing stardust. Then he stood, lifted his lantern, and quietly began walking home. The forest seemed even softer now, as if the whole world had become sleepy. Tiny lights drifted lazily through the grass beside him. The stream whispered quietly beneath the bridge, and warm windows glowed softly from sleeping burrows hidden beneath the hills. As the fox walked, the night breeze carried the scent of pine trees and cool moss. The moon hung low above the forest now, large, silver, peaceful. The fox crossed the little bridge once more and paused there quietly. Below him, stars shimmered gently in the moving water. For a moment, the little fox watched the reflections dance across the stream. Then he looked up at the sky. Thousands of tiny stars glowed softly above the forest. some bright, some faint, all peaceful. The little fox smiled to himself. He loved nights like this, nights when every dream felt warm again, nights when the forest breathed slowly beneath the moonlight. As he continued home, tiny leaves drifted softly from the trees. The cool grass brushed gently beneath his paws, and somewhere nearby, a sleepy bird rustled quietly inside its nest. Everything felt calm now, still, safe. Eventually, the fox reached the old tree where he lived. He stepped quietly inside his little home, beneath the roots. The lantern light had become small and sleepy. The fox carefully placed his satchel back inside the wooden chest, folded his scarf neatly beside the door, and climbed beneath his warm blanket once more. Outside, the forest rested peacefully beneath the moon. Inside the rabbit's dream, the repaired star glowed brighter than ever. Silver clouds drifted slowly through glowing skies, and every little creature in the forest slept softly through the night. The little fox closed his eyes, his tail curled gently around him like a blanket, and little by little, the quiet forest drifted deeper into sleep. The wind softened. The stars shimmered quietly above the trees. And somewhere far away, the owl watched peacefully over the sleeping woods. Everything was calm again. Everything was warm again. And every dream in the forest glowed softly beneath the silver light of the moon. Good night, little one.